Hello everybody, you're welcome back again to the Reggae Appreciation Society. Every single year, tens of thousands of music lovers flock to massive venues to enjoy the finest in live reggae music. Whether it's Reggae Land in Milton Keynes in Britain, Rotterdam in Spain, Reggae Hill in Belgium, or Sumfest in Jamaica, they were all inspired by and acquired their blueprint from the legendary Reggae Sunsplash, a magnificent festival of epic proportions from the beautiful location of Montego Bay, Jamaica, where an average of 100,000 people from around the globe would converge to witness the greatest reggae spectacle on the planet, with the elite musicians coming together to put in spectacular performances of a lifetime. It emerged at a time when that genre has cemented its place as a bona fide form of music and became more than just a concert, and became a cultural landmark on the world stage that beamed the beautiful sights and sounds of Jamaica to the entire planet, as millions of people around the globe either watched it on TV or enjoyed it in the video cassette recordings. The world had seen huge music festivals like Woodstock and Altamont Rock Concert in America, but Reggae Sunsplash succeeded where they failed, in that it held constantly and thrived continuously for a very long time and was one of the biggest on Jazz Green Earth. The lineup of artists invited to perform on that stage was always a who's who of reggae's elite, from the biggest reggae superstars to the hottest up-and-coming titans in the streets. But one thing was for certain: to get invited there, you had to be the best of the best. From its debut in 1978, this cultural phenomenon soldiered on for 2 decades, but the cocktail of catastrophes, including a legal battle and the sudden death of its founders and arrowheads, saw it collapse and grind to a halt, prompting us to ask the question, what really happened to Reggae Sunsplash? The origins of this show began with a man called Tony Johnson, who returned home to Jamaica in 1977 after spending 17 years in Los Angeles. And while living in LA, he had witnessed the massive music festivals like the Anaheim Stadium concerts and the Monterey festivals, and felt inspired to replicate those back home. He had seen the potential of reggae music and felt it could stimulate a whole lot of tourism. He was by training an urban planning manager, but joined forces with 3 friends in record label boss Ronnie Burke, systems analyst Don Green, and radio talk show host John Wakeling to form a company called Synergy Productions. Armed with different skills and driven by a powerful belief that reggae music could make Jamaica a global tourism hub, they hatched the idea of an annual event that could be called the Sunsplash and would be staged in the lovely coastal city of Montego Bay. In January 1978, Synergy approached the Jamaican Tourist Board with a proposal asking for support. The board approved the idea and they went ahead to start spreading the word via the overseas press and began to sell the vision to Jamaica's leading musicians and local stakeholders in the hospitality industry. Despite early challenges, the Synergy team would push through and staged the first edition, which held between the 23rd and 30th of June in that same year at the Jarrett Park in Montego Bay. It boasted of headliners like Jimmy Cliff, Dennis Brown, Ras Michael and the Sons of Negus, and Inner Circle, all putting in unforgettable performances in front of an average of 16,000 fans a day. But poor organization has seen most of that crowd coming in over the wall. And of course, that premiere event didn't make a profit and cost Synergy a small fortune, but it made a major splash in the culture and set the stage for a much bigger edition the next year in 1979. That year would attract even more heavy hitters, led by Bob Marley, who believed in that vision so much that he charged the organizers just 10,000 Jamaican dollars, 5 times less than what he was normally paid for a show. It also featured titans like Peter Tosh, Inner Circle and the Burning Spear, and saw the arrival of over 100 journalists from Japan, North America, UK, Spain, Germany and Canada, and not to mention an even greater audience, an international crowd of thousands of tourists. It was immortalized by a 2-hour film made by German filmmaker Stefan Paul that was named Reggae by Boss, Reggae Sunsplash 2. By 1980, it had taken on a life of its own, even though the venue had to be moved to Kingston to ensure the safety of tourists during what was a period of political turmoil in the country. It returned to Montego Bay the next year, but unfortunately amidst a gloomy national tragedy in the death of Bob Marley. But besides that, it did feature a spectacular lineup that included Jimmy Cliff, Twist and the Maytals, a new group called Black Uhuru, and for the first time, dancehall artists like a young Barrington Levy, Michigan and Smiley, plus dub poet Mutabaruka, and was hosted by popular showbiz personality Tommy Cowan. The festival's organizers showed they had the finger on the very pulse of Jamaican culture as they began to incorporate the very shift in Jamaican music tastes with more dancehall acts on the lineup. In fact, the biggest star of the 1982 edition was none other than Yellowman, whose performance is among the greatest in the very history of that festival. Reggae Sunsplash's size and popularity would continue to surge in the 1980s and even featured non-Jamaican superstars like Steel Pulse and Aswad, plus non-reggae acts like Stevie Wonder and Denise Williams. It got so big that it began to expand overseas, like in 1984 with a massive one-day event at Crystal Palace Stadium in London, where Black Uhuru and others rocked the house to its foundation. By the next year, it had taken off in Japan and America. It grew in strength and popularity as the reggae event to be at, and maintained this momentum right into the 1990s with over 150,000 people attending each year on average. But beneath all the glamour and hype, there were deep problems that the revelers couldn't see. First of all, those festivals all struggled to make profits, as corporate sponsorship or even government support was little or non-existent. The second problem was competition brewing on the horizon as another group of businessmen in Montego Bay in 1993 came together and launched a new event called Reggae Sunfest to exploit the growing instability around Sunsplash's organization. Slowly but surely, Reggae Sunfest began to take over Sunsplash territory and fans, especially as they had moved the venue to Portmore. By 1994, Reggae Sunsplash had attracted nothing less than hundreds of millions of dollars in tourism money into the economy. But Synergy as a company was cash-strapped and almost unable to fund the next event. So a company called Radoba Holdings offered financial assistance in exchange for equity in Synergy. And though that deal wasn't finalized, Radoba, which had links to powerful people in the government, went to court and effectively hijacked the entire festival. Radoba would stage the next edition in 1996 without the involvement of Synergy for the first time, but it turned out to be a huge critical and commercial flop. And to make matters worse, founder of Synergy, Tony Johnson, would pass away in 1997 after a heart attack in Los Angeles. And a year later, co-founder John Wakeling passed away from cancer, leaving Don Green as the sole surviving member of Synergy. Johnson's family continued to promote Reggae Sunsplash in events across Europe, Japan, and America for a while, but eventually it all went dormant due to controversy over the ownership of the trademark and challenges with funding. And this vacuum allowed other promoters to start similar reggae festivals all over the globe, led by Reggae Sunfest, Sting, and Rebel Salute in Jamaica, as well as Rototom, Reggae Hill, and Reggae Land all over Europe. These festivals, and even more, are doing incredibly well till date, with no signs of slowing down. Interestingly, in 2006, a new consortium of businessmen bought over the rights to Reggae Sunsplash and staged a comeback event that was heavily funded and featured headliners like UB40, Damian Marley, Maxi Priest, Buju Banton, and Luciano. This event was heavily criticized by surviving founder Don Green and ended up a terrible flop that lost millions of dollars. By then, the likes of Reggae Sunfest and Rebel Salute had the festival scene totally on lock. In 2020, new owners of the brand had come in and were planning another comeback when the COVID pandemic hit the world, and it ended up being staged virtually on social media. Personally, I think the Sunsplash machine has seen its best days come and go. That phenomenal innovation spawned many after it and indeed created the very concept of a reggae festival and launched it successfully to a global audience. It may have run its course, but one thing is for certain, Reggae Sunsplash will always be celebrated as the original archetype and the mother of all reggae festivals. So there you have it. Thank you for watching this video today. Please leave a like, subscribe, and until next time, Jah bless.